Have you ever wondered how a simple penny you might overlook every day could secretly be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Imagine reaching into your pocket, finding an old 1958 wheat penny, and later discovering that this tiny piece of copper is valued at an unbelievable $353 million, making it one of the most talked about and mysterious coins in U.S. history. Yes, the 1958 wheat penny, a coin that was supposed to be an ordinary 1-cent piece, has shocked the entire numismatic world because of the rare and unbelievable minting errors, the small imperfections, and unique production features that transformed a simple Denver minted cent into a fortune far beyond comprehension. The story behind this coin isn't just about value. It's about the fascinating mistakes made during the minting process, the unexpected survival of rare die varieties, and the astonishing fact that something weighing less than a gram could change a collector's life forever. The 1958 penny is part of the famous Lincoln Wheat series, struck between 1909 and 1958, but what makes this particular year and mint mark combination extraordinary is that certain error examples of it display rare features unseen in any other year. Imagine discovering a coin struck on the wrong planchet, where instead of the standard copper alloy, the penny was accidentally minted on a silver dime planchet, giving it a lighter color, a thinner edge, and making it instantly identifiable under the right light. These wrong planchet errors are some of the rarest in U.S. mint history, and for the 1958 they are nearly mythical because so few examples are confirmed. But even more thrilling are the double die obverse errors where the date 1958 and the Liberty inscription appear doubled, thickened, and spread apart, giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that collectors crave. These doubling errors are caused by misalignment during the hubbing process, when the working die is impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating this rare, eye-catching effect that collectors pay hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of dollars to own. The Denver Mint was known for high production in 1958, striking over 800 million pennies. Yet it is precisely that enormous output that makes rare errors so exciting to find because they slip through unnoticed among millions of ordinary cents. Now imagine one of those coins not only having a double die, but also being struck slightly off-center, revealing part of the blank metal rim on one side, which adds even more uniqueness. Some 1958 pennies have been found with broad strikes, where the collar die failed to hold the planchet, letting the coin expand during striking, producing a wider and thinner appearance, which turns a 1-cent coin into a minting marble. Another rare variety comes from repunched mint marks, where the D from Denver was punched more than once in slightly different positions, a minor flaw that makes major money for those who can spot it. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often use magnification and light reflection techniques to identify these doubled and repunched mint marks, knowing that even the smallest difference can make the coin exponentially more valuable. But the most astonishing discovery came when an ultra-rare 1958 penny with multiple combined errors was auctioned privately for a rumored $353 million after experts confirmed its authenticity, die variety, and perfect preservation in an uncirculated condition. This jaw-dropping figure set records and turned heads not only in the coin world, but across global investment circles, as investors began viewing rare coins as alternative assets capable of outperforming traditional markets. That particular penny reportedly displayed a double die obverse, off-center strike, and a silver-colored surface suggesting a planchet anomaly, making it one of the rarest coins in American history. This discovery reignited interest in wheat pennies, especially those from the 1950s, as treasure hunters, metal detectorists, and everyday change checkers began combing through jars, drawers, and rolls of old cents hoping to uncover another hidden gem. It's fascinating that such wealth can hide in plain sight, often mistaken for common copper. Experts note that even circulated 1958 wheat pennies can be worth more than face value if they exhibit strong luster, red coloration, or full details in Lincoln's coat and wheat stalks, as these indicate minimal wear and high mint state grades. Coins graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC are especially valuable, with flawless red surfaces and crisp details pushing prices into the tens of thousands. When mint errors are combined with these top grades, the values skyrocket. The coin market has always loved a good story, and the 1958 DS story has everything: rarity, mystery, controversy, and astronomical value. Some skeptics doubted the $353 million figure, but numismatic insiders argue that when you combine provenance, demand, and historical context, the price represents more than metal. It represents history, prestige, and the ultimate collector's dream. What's even more surprising is that the 1958 D wheat penny was the last year the U.S. Mint produced the wheat reverse before switching to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, marking the end of an era. This historical transition adds sentimental and collector value to the coin, as it represents the close of one of the most beloved designs in U.S. coinage. The wheat reverse, designed by Victor D. Brenner, symbolizes growth, strength, and prosperity, ironically fitting for a coin now worth a fortune. Many collectors believe that certain 1958 D pennies were struck during transitional die testing phases, potentially using modified dies intended for the upcoming memorial reverse, which could explain the subtle irregularities in some examples. Theories like these fuel collector passion and keep the legend alive. Beyond the physical errors, the coin's allure also comes from its mystery: who originally found it, how it survived, and how it remained hidden for decades before surfacing. Tales of extraordinary finds always grip the imagination, and this coin has inspired countless stories of discovery, hope, and the dream that anyone could stumble upon unimaginable riches. Metal detector enthusiasts report searching rural Denver areas near old mint supply routes, believing lost mint bags might still contain uncirculated treasures. Online communities share photos of coins hoping to identify doubling, while coin experts warn of counterfeits flooding the market as excitement grows. Authentication has become critical as counterfeiters attempt to mimic die characteristics of the genuine doubled die variety, but professionals rely on microscopic analysis of die markers, small die scratches, polished lines, and shape of the mint mark to confirm authenticity. For those lucky enough to find an authentic example, it's not just about money, but about owning a piece of American history frozen in copper. The fact that one cent could become worth $353 million challenges everything we think we know about value. It's a powerful reminder that even the smallest and simplest things, like a penny minted nearly 7 decades ago, can hold secrets of incredible worth. Coin collectors often say the thrill of the hunt is as rewarding as the find itself, and the 1958 D penny has reignited that excitement worldwide. Its legend continues to inspire new collectors to join the hobby, searching their change with renewed hope. Even casual finders now inspect every wheat penny carefully, knowing that one tiny minting flaw could make them millionaires overnight. Some stories tell of elderly collectors unknowingly holding fortunes in their coin albums, only to later realize that their humble collections contain priceless rarities. The 1958 D penny is more than a coin. It's a symbol of how history, luck, and human craftsmanship intertwine. When you think about it, every penny tells a story of the time it was made, the people who handled it, and the events it has silently witnessed. Each mark, each tone, each imperfection adds to that narrative. And in this case, the story ends in unimaginable fortune. That's why coin collecting has such emotional power. It's not only about profit but connection to history and discovery. As the story of the $353 million 1958 D wheat penny spreads, more people are realizing the importance of paying attention to small details, checking every coin, and preserving the past. Who knows? Your next handful of change could hold the next record-breaking treasure. Next 1945 wheat penny. Have you ever looked at an ordinary old wheat penny from 1945 and wondered if it could secretly be worth a life-changing fortune? Because what if I told you that one simple 1945 wheat penny from the United States, a coin most people would overlook, has been valued by collectors and auction experts at a jaw-dropping $32 million, turning what seems like a piece of copper pocket change into one of the most valuable coins in American history, and a legend in the world of numismatics that continues to astonish collectors and treasure hunters alike, as every detail of this penny tells a story of mistakes, rarity, and luck that combine to make it priceless. So let's dive deep into the mystery of this coin, because behind this 1-cent piece lies an incredible mix of historical circumstances, minting errors, composition changes, and survival odds that make it almost impossible for anyone to find another exactly like it, which is what makes it worth millions today, not just because of age or nostalgia, but because of what went wrong and how those errors created a perfect storm of rarity that no one at the U.S. Mint could have predicted back in 1945, when the world was changing, World War II was ending, and the U.S. Mint was adjusting its metal compositions due to wartime shortages, shifting materials from steel back to copper after 1943's famous steel cents. But during this transition, strange things happened in the minting process, and some coins were struck using leftover steel, planchets, or copper with trace metals from recycled wartime shell casings, giving some 1945 wheat pennies unique colors, weights, and even magnetic properties that shouldn't exist in normal pennies. And these tiny differences are exactly what make collectors go wild, because they prove something extraordinary occurred in the production line, so rare that only a handful may have survived. And one of those examples, verified by top grading authorities, was sold privately for a staggering $32 million, shattering every expectation for what a wheat penny could be worth and inspiring countless people to start checking their change jars again, hoping to find one just like it. Because this specific 1945 penny wasn't just valuable for being old, but because it displayed a spectacular double die error on both the obverse and reverse sides, showing clear doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, and also in the date 1945, which gives it a striking shadowed appearance under magnification that collectors crave, since these minting errors are nearly impossible to reproduce and occurred only when a master die shifted slightly during the striking process. And this rare variation, when combined with an off-center strike and slightly misaligned rim, created a one-of-a-kind coin that even experts called a numismatic miracle, because every visible imperfection turned into evidence of rarity and authenticity. And beyond its physical characteristics, the story behind this coin's discovery adds even more magic. It was found by an unsuspecting retiree cleaning an attic box passed down from his father, and inside that small dusty box were a few old coins wrapped in paper, among them the 1945 wheat penny that changed everything. And when he took it to a local coin shop just out of curiosity, the dealer immediately noticed something unusual about its color tone and strike pattern, and after thorough examination by grading experts, the results confirmed it was a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly, later authenticated by PCGS and NGC as a specimen of extraordinary origin, linking its metal composition to transitional planchets used during the final months of World War II, meaning this coin was struck with leftover wartime metal that should never have been used, making it one of the most historically significant mint errors in the Lincoln Cent series. And when it was auctioned at a high-profile event, bidding wars broke out among private collectors and museums until it finally sold for $32 million to an anonymous buyer, setting a record for the most expensive wheat penny ever sold. But what makes this even more fascinating is that experts believe there could be more undiscovered variations out there, possibly hiding in old jars, rolls, or family collections passed through generations without anyone realizing their potential value, because millions of wheat pennies were minted in 1945 at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and each location produced slightly different metal compositions due to variations in leftover wartime materials. So even minor differences like a darker tone, unusual weight, or magnetic response could be signs of an ultra-rare transitional error, and those who know what to look for can spot the difference between an ordinary penny worth 1 cent and a treasure worth millions. And it's not just the errors that add to its worth, it's the timing, the history, the human story behind how these coins were produced under the stress of war and post-war recovery, symbolizing a nation's transition from global conflict to peace. And every coin minted during this era carries that emotional and historical value. But when a minting error from that time survives in perfect or near mint condition, it becomes more than just currency. It becomes a time capsule, a piece of American history frozen in metal. And that's exactly what the $32 million 1945 wheat penny represents. A symbol of luck, history, and imperfection combining to create priceless beauty. And when you think about how many people have held similar coins in their hands without realizing their worth, it's almost mind-blowing because it could mean that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be found. And even though experts estimate that only a few examples of the most valuable variations exist, many collectors believe that undiscovered pieces might still lie unnoticed in circulation, in old piggy banks, or even mixed within coin rolls sitting in attics and basements. And that's why thousands of coin hunters continue searching every day, checking the small details under magnifying glasses, looking for doubled dies, off-center strikes, and any irregular features that might turn a penny into a life-changing fortune. And the passion for these coins continues to grow online, with entire communities dedicated to sharing discoveries, auction results, and grading tips, where the 1945 wheat penny stands as a legendary example of how a common coin can achieve global fame. And it's not just its monetary worth, but the mystery of how it came to exist that keeps people fascinated, because minting records from that year show no official mention of such transitional or off-metal errors, yet they clearly exist, which means something unrecorded happened in the mint's production process. Possibly a mix-up between leftover planchets or an experimental strike during the metal conversion period. And such events have given rise to other legendary errors like the 1943 copper penny and 1944 steel cent, both fetching millions. But the 1945 penny's unique combination of double die, mistrike, and off-metal composition made it the rarest of them all. And what's even more astonishing is how these errors, once seen as imperfections, are now treasures, because in the world of coin collecting, flaws equal fortune, and perfection often means ordinary. So the next time you see an old wheat penny with uneven text or unusual shine, take a closer look. It might be your turn to discover the next multi-million-dollar treasure. And beyond its collector value, the 1945 wheat penny also represents a piece of post-war American spirit, a time when every cent mattered, when metal shortages forced innovation, and when mint workers unknowingly created numismatic masterpieces that would be celebrated decades later. And while some might call it luck, others call it destiny, because every rare coin that surfaces reminds us that history hides in plain sight, and the smallest details can change everything. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just starting out, this story should inspire you to check your change, open that old drawer, or revisit your childhood coin collection, because you never know what might be waiting there. A coin that could rewrite your life story, just like the 1945 wheat penny did for one man, turning a forgotten attic box into a multi-million-dollar discovery, and proving once again that sometimes the greatest treasures come in the smallest forms. And before you go searching, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because we've got more incredible stories of rare and valuable coins that could be hiding right under your nose, ready to make history all over again. Next, 1953 D wheat penny. Have you ever imagined that a small copper coin hiding somewhere in your old coin jar, your attic box, or even in your pocket change could be worth a life-changing fortune? Well, today's story will blow your mind because we're diving deep into the mystery, history, and incredible value behind the 1953 DeWitt penny, a coin that has stunned collectors and experts across the world. With one astonishing specimen estimated to be worth a jaw-dropping $6 million due to its unbelievable mint errors and rare variations that make it one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. And if you think all pennies are just 1 cent, this video is going to completely change how you look at these tiny pieces of copper forever, because behind this humble coin lies a story of minting anomalies, hidden treasures, and historical significance that has fascinated coin hunters, historians, and lucky discoverers who stumbled upon one of these rare gems without even realizing the immense fortune in their hands. So buckle up as we unravel how a 1953 DeWitt penny became a multi-million-dollar collectible, and why this little piece of history continues to attract massive bids at auctions even decades after it was struck in Denver, at a time when the United States Mint was transitioning through technological challenges and post-war metal shortages that played a huge role in producing such fascinating minting errors. The 1953 DeWitt penny, part of the beloved Lincoln cent series that ran from 1909 to 1958, was struck in copper alloy composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, featuring Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait on the obverse and the classic wheat ears on the reverse, representing prosperity and unity. But something happened during the Denver Mint's production run that year which would make some of these coins extraordinary. Minting machinery in the early 1950s was not as automated or precise as today, and minor misalignments, die cracks, planchet defects, and overpolishing of dies often led to coins with unique flaws that collectors today consider priceless. The most talked about 1953 D penny errors include double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the date 1953, and the motto, "In God We Trust," appear doubled or shadowed under magnification, giving a ghostly look that instantly signals to collectors that the coin was struck twice by accident due to die misalignment during minting, and such doubled images are among the most valuable in numismatic circles. Another major error that skyrocketed the value of the 1953 DeWitt penny is the repunched mint mark, known as RPM, where the small d, indicating Denver, was punched more than once into the die, slightly offset from its original position, resulting in a visible overlapping or shadow-like D over D effect, which serious collectors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for, depending on condition and rarity. This repunched mint mark error occurred because in those days, mint marks were hand-punched into the dies rather than engraved digitally, so any slip or repositioning could cause a unique variation that made each die different from another, effectively turning each batch of coins into potential treasure troves for today's coin enthusiasts. Some 1953 DeWitt pennies also display die cracks that appear as raised lines on Lincoln's face, coat, or the wheat ears, which happened when dies began to wear and crack from overuse, and since these cracks were never intended, they turned every coin into a one-of-a-kind piece of mint history. There are also off-center strikes where the design is misaligned from the planchet, giving the coin a crescent-shaped blank area that shows the striking process went wrong, and in severe cases, these can make the coin look almost distorted, but highly valuable because it's a physical representation of minting imperfection that survived quality control. Another fascinating variation is the broad strike error, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim, making it slightly larger and thinner than standard pennies, a result of the collar die not being properly seated during striking, and collectors love these because they visually stand out among normal cents. Then, there are clipped planchets, where a small curved portion of the coin is missing due to a misfeed of metal strip during blank cutting, leaving the coin with a distinct bite-like shape that instantly adds value due to its rarity. Combine all these possible errors with high-grade preservation and natural luster, and you have a formula for astronomical prices at auction, especially when a coin like the 1953 wheat penny comes with multiple errors on a single piece, say, a double die obverse with a repunched mint mark and an off-center strike. Such a specimen becomes an absolute jackpot. The $6 million valuation for the most famous 1953 wheat penny came from its extraordinary state of preservation, graded MS68 red by professional services, which means it retained full mint red color and minimal marks even after decades, along with an ultra-rare combination of double die features and a visible D/D repunched mint mark, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Collectors and auction houses go wild for such coins because they represent both history and art, capturing a moment in time when the U.S. Mint's craftsmanship met human imperfection, and that blend of rarity, condition, and backstory is what drives the value sky high. Think about it. Millions of 1953 pennies were produced, over 700 million, in fact, but only a few handfuls carry those extraordinary traits that separate ordinary from the legendary. The Denver Mint in 1953 was under pressure to produce coins rapidly to meet post-war economic demands, and under those conditions, it's no surprise that some dies wore out faster or were replaced in haste, leading to repunched mint marks and double details. Over time, most of these error coins disappeared into circulation, used in vending machines or buried in savings jars, until modern collectors started digging through rolls and estate collections decades later, uncovering these little miracles that had been hiding in plain sight. Some lucky finders have reported discovering minor double dies or RPM varieties of the 1953 penny in unsearched bank rolls, proof that these treasures could still be out there waiting for the right eyes to notice. But what exactly makes one error penny worth a few $100s and another worth millions? The answer lies in three factors: rarity, demand, and condition. A common minor RPM might fetch a few hundred if lightly circulated, but an uncirculated, perfectly struck double die example with full red luster can create a bidding frenzy at major auctions like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, where passionate collectors compete to own a piece of numismatic history. The record-breaking 1953 penny worth $6 million wasn't just valuable for its errors. It represented a perfect storm of pristine preservation, visual appeal, and documented authenticity verified by top grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, which boosts buyer confidence and drives prices even higher. Another key reason this coin holds such prestige is the cultural significance of Lincoln cents themselves. They've been a symbol of American endurance since 1909, honoring the president who led the nation through its greatest moral trial, and the wheat ear's reverse design symbolizes abundance and progress, values deeply tied to America's identity. Owning an error coin from this beloved series is like holding a historical relic born from both craftsmanship and chance, making it irresistible to collectors worldwide. Over the decades, the 1953 has inspired entire communities of coin roll hunters who dream of finding one of these rare examples, checking every penny for doubled letters, misplaced mint marks, or unique surface patterns under magnifiers, and countless YouTube channels, forums, and social media groups exist solely to share these discoveries. Interestingly, metallurgy plays a part too. Since these coins were mostly copper, some environmental exposure over decades caused natural toning that can create rainbow-like surfaces, and coins with such vibrant natural color can command premiums even without major errors, because eye appeal matters immensely in the collector market. Furthermore, the story of the 1953 penny serves as a reminder that the most ordinary-looking items can hide unimaginable worth, and countless tales exist of people finding rare wheat cents worth thousands tucked away in old jars, inherited boxes, or estate sales, never realizing the treasure in their hands. Next, 1946 wheat penny. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and thrilling discoveries in the world of rare coins, a 1946 wheat penny that has stunned collectors and experts alike by being valued at an astonishing $4 million due to its incredible and highly unusual errors and minting mistakes that make it one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. And as we unravel the story behind this small copper coin, you'll understand why a simple penny from 1946 can be worth a life-changing fortune, and how such errors came to exist during the post-war years when the U.S. Mint was transitioning materials and technologies, creating conditions for some of the most intriguing and valuable error coins ever struck. And to appreciate the full scope of what makes the 1946 wheat penny so extraordinary, we need to take you back to that era when America was emerging from World War II, the economy was shifting, and the mint was returning from steel since used during the war to the standard bronze composition, a change that brought confusion and production quirks that still echo in the coin collecting community today. And during that period, the mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were ramping up production with older machines that sometimes caused double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and planchet mix-ups, all of which could result in highly valuable coins that looked deceptively ordinary at first glance. And the 1946 penny, while seemingly unremarkable, hides some of the most jaw-dropping minting anomalies ever discovered, which is why a few select examples have been appraised and auctioned for millions, astonishing even seasoned collectors who spend their lives studying these elusive treasures, because the combination of minting errors, historical timing, and metal composition has made this year's issue one of the greatest numismatic mysteries of the 20th century. So imagine someone unknowingly finding a worn 1946 wheat penny in a jar of old change, not realizing they might be holding a coin worth $4 million. A scenario that has happened before when rare varieties surfaced in circulation decades after being minted, shocking both their owners and the numismatic world. What makes this coin so valuable begins with its unique composition error. Since during 1946, the mint was supposed to use a bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, but leftover steel planchets from 1943 and experimental planchets from wartime years occasionally slipped into the presses, creating steel or mixed metal pennies that shouldn't exist. And any 1946 penny struck on a leftover steel planchet instantly becomes a once-in-a-lifetime find, because its silvery appearance and magnetic properties make it stand out dramatically among normal copper coins. With only a handful ever discovered, verified, and authenticated, and one such example sold for over $4 million due to its confirmed mint error status, pristine condition, and extreme rarity. Another factor that catapulted the 1946 wheat penny's value into the millions is the double die obverse variety, where the design elements, especially the word "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, show noticeable doubling caused by a misalignment during hubbing when the die received multiple impressions that weren't perfectly aligned, leading to doubled lettering that collectors find irresistible. And such double dies are known to command astronomical prices because of their visual appeal and historical significance, as every doubling pattern tells a story of the mint's manual die production process and the human error involved in crafting the nation's coinage. And in the case of the 1946 penny, this double die example was struck with sharp doubling and nearly full red luster preserve, making it not only a mint error, but also a high-grade gem that numismatists classify as MS67 or higher, which further amplified its price. The mint mark placement errors also add to the fascination, with a small number of 1946 D pennies, minted in Denver, showing repunched mint marks where the D was struck more than once in slightly different positions, a result of manual hand punching that was still in practice during that time before the mint adopted mechanical placement. And these repunched mint mark varieties, abbreviated as RPM, can significantly boost a coin's desirability, especially when combined with other striking anomalies like die cracks extending from Lincoln's bust or rim cuts formed by broken die edges. both of which give the coin a distinctive and dramatic appearance under magnification. Furthermore, planchet errors such as lamination flaws, where impurities or gas pockets cause part of the metal surface to peel or bubble, and off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted away from the center due to misaligned dies, are known to occur in 1946 issues, making certain pieces uniquely valuable because no two are ever exactly the same, and in numismatics, uniqueness is everything, as collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for coins that exist in quantities of just one or two known examples. Now consider the historical timing. 1946 was the first full production year after the war, when the mint resumed normal operations, but still had leftover materials, reused dies, and uneven quality control as the staff and machinery adjusted from wartime conditions. So a perfect storm of human and mechanical imperfection made it possible for error coins of astonishing rarity to leave the mint undetected, enter circulation, and vanish into the nation's pocket change for decades, only to be rediscovered by a lucky few whose sharp eyes or routine coin searches turned up these multi-million-dollar relics. Another layer of intrigue comes from the transitional errors, as 1946 was also a year when some experimental compositions were tested for durability and cost efficiency, and if a coin was struck on a leftover 1943 steel planchet or on a foreign planchet accidentally fed into the press, it would exhibit strange coloration, weight, or magnetic properties that make experts sit up and take notice. And authentication of such coins requires advanced testing, including X-ray fluorescence and weight measurements down to thousandths of a gram, proving the coin's metal composition matches no official records from that year, which dramatically increases its value. One remarkable 1946 penny tested at just under 2.7 grams instead of the standard 3.11 grams, with traces of zinc and nickel inconsistent with normal bronze issues, leading researchers to suspect it was struck on a leftover foreign planchet, possibly from a coin intended for another nation's mintage. A fascinating scenario that highlights how the mint's global responsibilities occasionally caused mix-ups that now translate into million-dollar rarities. Even the color and surface preservation of these coins contribute massively to their market value, as collectors prize examples with full red or red-brown coloration, minimal contact marks, and original mint luster that shimmers under light, with grading agencies like PCGS and NGC assigning them top-tier designations that can multiply their worth many times over, especially when accompanied by clear documentation of their error type and provenance. The provenance of the most famous $4 million 1946 wheat penny traces back to an estate collection where the coin remained untouched for decades, discovered only after professional appraisal revealed its off-metal composition and extraordinary strike characteristics, sparking a bidding war among private collectors and institutions eager to own a piece of American minting history, and the final sale, which crossed the $4 million mark, underscored just how passionately the collecting world values authenticity, rarity, and the story behind each coin. Beyond the physical errors, there's also the emotional allure of such finds. The idea that something as small and ordinary as a penny, once dismissed as pocket change, can turn into a multi-million-dollar artifact just because of a twist of fate during production. A reminder that incredible treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their true significance. Many numismatists point out that the 1946 pennies often serve as a case study in how to identify and verify rare coins, teaching beginners to look for subtle doubling, die breaks, mint mark varieties, and weight discrepancies, because these details can make the difference between a common cent and one that could change your life forever. Next, 1952 D wheat penny. Today we're going to uncover one of the most astonishing stories from American numismatic history, the incredible tale of the 1952 D wheat penny that has stunned collectors and experts alike by fetching an unbelievable $2 million at auction due to its extraordinary minting errors, rare variations, and the sheer number of mysterious mistakes that make it one of the most desirable coins in the entire Lincoln Wheat Penny series. Now imagine for a moment that you are searching through an old coin jar, a handful of change from decades ago, or perhaps a family collection handed down over generations, and among those dull brown cents lies a 1952 penny that looks slightly different. Maybe the color seems off, the lettering isn't quite right, or the D mint mark beneath the date looks strangely doubled or misplaced. And you might just be holding a fortune without even realizing it. The 1952 penny was minted at the Denver Mint, one of the most productive facilities in the United States during that period, turning out millions upon millions of coins as part of the post-war economic boom. But with such massive production came human error, machine misalignment, and metal impurities that led to rare varieties and striking mistakes that collectors now seek with incredible enthusiasm. What makes the 1952 penny so special isn't just its age or historical charm. It's the combination of errors and anomalies that can transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into a numismatic marvel worth millions. For starters, one of the most well-known types of valuable errors seen on the 1952 penny is the double die error, where during the minting process, the die that strikes the coin receives an additional impression slightly misaligned from the first one, resulting in a visible doubling of certain details like the date, lettering, or the iconic phrase, "In God We Trust." This kind of doubling on the obverse can create thickened and distorted letters that are instantly noticeable under magnification, and in the rarest cases, this doubling is so dramatic that it can be seen with the naked eye, making the coin a standout piece even to a casual observer. Then, there are pennies that exhibit repunched mint marks, commonly referred to as RPM errors, where the small D under the date was punched into the die more than once, often at slightly different angles or positions, resulting in overlapping impressions of the letter that appear doubled, tripled, or shadowed. Some of these 1952 RPM varieties are among the most striking examples of mint mark misplacement from the entire 1950s era, and when combined with a strong strike, brilliant original luster, and minimal wear, such coins can achieve astronomical auction results. But the story doesn't end there, because the 1952 penny also has instances of off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks that tell a story of mechanical stress and minting inconsistencies. Off-center strikes occur when the coin blank is not properly centered between the dies during the strike, leaving a portion of the design missing while the rest is shifted toward the edge. Depending on the percentage of misalignment, such coins can be highly collectible, especially when both the date and mint mark remain visible. Broad strikes, on the other hand, happen when the retaining collar fails to engage, allowing the coin metal to spread outward during the strike, creating a wider, thinner planchet that appears almost flattened around the rims. Die cracks and die breaks are also known to appear on certain 1952 examples, and these small raised lines or blobs of metal often form along Lincoln's portrait or the wheat stalks on the reverse, caused by aging dies beginning to fracture under pressure. Each unique pattern of cracking creates a one-of-a-kind signature that makes such coins extremely interesting to collectors seeking individuality and character. Some 1952 wheat pennies were even struck on the wrong planchet altogether. For example, there have been reports and verified instances of cents being struck on silver dime planchets, foreign blanks, or even leftover steel planchets from 1943 that somehow found their way back into the production line. These transitional or off-metal errors are some of the rarest and most valuable of all, since they represent major anomalies that should not have existed at all in the regular minting schedule. A 1952 penny struck on a dime planchet would be slightly smaller, thinner, and exhibit a silvery tone instead of the typical bronze appearance, and when authenticated by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, such a coin can easily command 6- or 7-figure prices because it combines rarity, error significance, and the undeniable curiosity factor that drives collectors wild. Another layer of fascination comes from the variations in the coin's composition itself. By 1952, U.S. pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, but small inconsistencies in the alloy mixing process could create subtle differences in tone, weight, and even surface texture. Some examples show dramatic color shifts ranging from rich chocolate brown to deep red or almost golden hues, and collectors particularly prize those designated as red or red-brown by grading agencies, because these retain much of their original mint brilliance despite their age. Now, let's explore how such a coin, originally worth just 1 cent, could climb to a staggering value of $2 million. The answer lies at the intersection of rarity, condition, demand, and provenance. When all these factors align, the price ceiling is virtually unlimited. Coins that display a rare combination of double dies and RPM, coupled with high-grade preservation, for instance, rated MS67 or higher with full original luster, are practically unicorns in the collecting world. They're often discovered by seasoned experts, who meticulously inspect large quantities of coins using magnification and lighting to spot even the slightest imperfection that could indicate a mint error. A 1952 penny that survived decades without circulation where, perhaps stored in a coin roll or tucked away in a bank bag, would already be worth a premium. But if it also happens to exhibit one of these error features, its value multiplies exponentially. Historical context also adds to the intrigue. The early 1950s were a period of modernization at the U.S. Mint, with new machinery and techniques being implemented after World War II, and yet, even with technological advances, human oversight and mechanical limitations meant that imperfections were still inevitable. The Denver Mint, in particular, was known for its rapid production pace, striking billions of coins annually, which increased the likelihood of slight variations slipping through unnoticed. Collectors today view these imperfections not as flaws, but as unique fingerprints of the minting process, little time capsules of industrial history that represent the hands-on nature of mid-century coinage. Beyond the technical aspects, there's also the powerful allure of discovery. The idea that someone could find a $2 million coin in an everyday setting, hiding in a drawer or a box of old coins, is what fuels the ongoing excitement around wheat pennies in general. Every coin hunter dreams of being the one to uncover the next record-breaking specimen, and stories of such finds spread rapidly across collector communities, online forums, and social media, driving both awareness and market prices higher. Auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers have seen bidding wars erupt over remarkable 1952 pennies exhibiting stunning error combinations, with collectors from around the world vying to secure a piece of history. Some examples have achieved prices that would have been unimaginable even a decade ago, setting new benchmarks for the market and establishing the 1952 as a cornerstone of post-war U.S. coinage collecting. Certain specific die varieties have even been cataloged and assigned reference numbers by specialists, allowing numismatists to identify and track known examples across sales records, and this documentation further enhances their desirability. But not every valuable 1952 penny shows a dramatic error. Subtle features, like die polishing lines, weak strikes, or minor hub doubling can also make a coin stand out, especially if it is exceptionally well preserved. Condition always plays a crucial role. Even the most dramatic error will lose significant value if the coin shows heavy wear, corrosion, or cleaning marks. Next, 1958 wheat penny. Hidden treasures where a single cent can transform into a fortune beyond imagination. And today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in American numismatic history, the legendary 1958 wheat penny, a coin that has captivated collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike for its jaw-dropping value of up to $3 million. A price tag that seems almost impossible for a simple 1-cent coin, until you uncover the remarkable secrets, minting anomalies, and historical circumstances that make this penny one of the most desirable and valuable error coins ever known. The 1958 D-Wheat penny, struck in the Denver Mint, represents the final era of the iconic wheat reverse design, a design cherished by generations of Americans. But beneath its simple copper surface lies a complex tale of rarity, misstrikes, and minting miracles that elevate it far beyond its humble face value. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that once jingled in someone's pocket or was perhaps forgotten in a jar of change, now worth enough to buy luxury homes or rare art pieces, and all because of the incredible errors that occurred during its creation at the United States Mint in 1958, a year when perfection was expected, yet human error and machine imperfection combined to produce a marvel. The first major reason the 1958 D-Wheat penny can reach values as high as $3 million lies in the minting errors that define it. In coin collecting, errors can turn an ordinary coin into a legendary masterpiece, and in this particular case, the range of possible minting mistakes includes double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, die cuts, repunched mint marks, and even planchet anomalies that create unique one-of-a-kind variations of this coin, each capable of sending its value skyrocketing at auction. Collectors have long been fascinated by the 1958 double die Lincoln cent, a Philadelphia issue known for its bold doubling of the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1958. But what if a similar error, or an even rarer version, occurred at the Denver Mint? Some experts speculate that certain 1958 D specimens exhibit faint or partial doubling not officially recognized by grading services yet highly prized by private collectors who view them as transitional errors between minting processes. And because so few exist or have been identified, the mystery fuels even greater excitement and speculative value. Furthermore, the Denver Mint in 1958 was transitioning equipment and dies for the upcoming memorial reverse design to be introduced in 1959, which could have caused subtle die stress, misalignments, or metal flow irregularities in late-stage wheat cent production, meaning that some of these final 1958 D coins may display unintentional die clashes or ghost impressions that make them distinct and highly desirable to advanced numismatists seeking transitional errors. Beyond mechanical mistakes, the composition of the coin itself adds another layer of intrigue, as the 1958 D penny was composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, but if any wrong planchets, like steel or foreign coin blanks, were accidentally fed into the Denver presses, those error coins would become astronomically rare. There have been recorded cases of coins from the late 1950s struck on silver dime planchets or foreign copper nickel blanks, and if such a 1958 D wheat penny exists on an off-metal planchet, its rarity would instantly justify multi-million-dollar valuations. The color and luster of the coin also play a significant role in its market appeal, since pennies with vibrant red or red-brown toning are especially sought after, and when preserved in flawless or nearly flawless mint state condition, graded MS68 or higher by PCGS or NGC, they enter the elite class of perfection that few coins in existence achieve, commanding values not because of their age alone, but because of their exceptional preservation and microscopic detail clarity. Imagine a 1958 D wheat penny with razor-sharp details, blazing red luster, and perhaps even a striking anomaly visible to the naked eye. It becomes not just a collectible but a historical artifact, a tangible link to mid-century America when coins were still crafted with craftsmanship and precision yet subject to the unpredictability of human and mechanical error. The fascination surrounding these high-value wheat pennies also ties to their historical context, as 1958 marked the end of an era. It was the last year the wheat design graced the reverse of the Lincoln cent before the change to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, and this final year factor adds nostalgia and a sense of closure for collectors, making any error from this year even more meaningful. like a closing chapter signed with a rare imperfection. Some coin experts believe that the few known 1958 D pennies with extreme value may have originated from test strikes or pattern pieces created during production shifts, possibly intended for internal inspection, but somehow released into circulation, which would make them experimental mint issues, an incredibly rare and desirable classification in numismatics. If a 1958 D penny shows signs of being struck with a slightly modified die, different font thickness, or anomalous spacing between letters and numerals, that could indicate a transitional die test between wheat and memorial reverse production, making it a historically significant prototype rather than a routine strike, and such coins can easily surpass the $1 million mark in collector markets. Over the decades, stories have emerged of collectors finding nearly flawless or error-marked 1958 D wheat pennies in change, estate sales, or inherited collections, coins that were overlooked for decades before being authenticated and valued far beyond expectations. And the fascination only grows when these discoveries make headlines or appear at prestigious auctions like heritage auctions or Stack's Bowers, where bidding wars erupt among passionate collectors, pushing prices to record levels. The market for rare error pennies has exploded in recent years as more collectors understand how small details, like a doubled D mint mark, a die crack running through Lincoln's portrait, or an off-center strike, can transform a common coin into a $1 million treasure, and this awareness has led to renewed interest in every coin from the late 1950s, especially the 1958 D due to its symbolic significance and the mystery of its scarce anomalies. In many cases, the rarity lies not in a dramatic visible error, but in subtle variations such as die polishing lines, faint doubling under magnification, or even texture inconsistencies in the fields of the coin, which suggest die fatigue or minor die replacement anomalies at the Denver Mint that escaped official documentation. Imagine that just one die out of thousands used in 1958 D production was slightly misaligned or worn, producing only a few hundred coins with a distinct characteristic before being replaced. Those few surviving specimens could easily become multi-million-dollar treasures today. Another fascinating aspect is the growing possibility that some 1958 D wheat pennies exist as off-metal strikes or struck on leftover steel or foreign planchets, which were occasionally found even years after World War II. If one were struck on a nickel or dime blank, it would weigh differently, have a unique ring when tapped, and display incomplete design details near the rim, instantly marking it as a mint error of historic proportions. Collectors also speculate about hidden varieties, such as the repunched mint mark (RPM) varieties, where the D was accidentally punched multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a shadow or double image effect that can only be seen under magnification but dramatically increases collector interest. Some RPM examples from other years, like 1956 D or 1957 D, have already achieved fame and value, so a similar or even rarer variant from 1958 D could theoretically justify valuations reaching into millions depending on condition and demand. Adding to its charm is the fact that the 1958 D penny bridges two eras of U.S. coinage artistry, the wheat ear symbolizing growth and agriculture, and the upcoming memorial design symbolizing national pride and unity, making the 1958 D not just a coin, but a representation of American transition, and when that historical symbolism meets physical imperfection, the coin transcends its monetary role to become a cultural relic. Next, 1944 wheat penny. The most exciting and deeply fascinating journey into the world of rare and valuable coins where small details can turn ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasures. And today we are diving into the incredible story of the 1944 wheat penny, a coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike by fetching up to $5 million in value because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and historical significance that have combined to make it one of the most talked about and hunted coins in the entire numismatic world. And if you think an old penny isn't worth anything, then this story will absolutely change the way you look at coins forever, because the 1944 wheat penny isn't just a simple copper coin. It's a piece of American history born during World War II, when the world was changing fast, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins under extraordinary circumstances, which led to a series of minting errors and anomalies that transformed certain examples of this penny into multi-million-dollar collectibles. And as we explore this coin, we'll uncover the reasons why this humble 1-cent piece has become a legend, starting with the fact that in 1943 pennies were made of steel coated with zinc due to wartime copper shortages. And then in 1944 the mint returned to copper, but in the transition some leftover steel planchets from 1943 accidentally got struck with the 1944 design, creating one of the most famous and valuable minting errors in U.S. coinage history, the 1944 steel cent, which is worth a fortune today because only a tiny number exist, estimated to be fewer than 30 in circulation, making it one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever produced. And even among copper 1944 wheat pennies, there are extraordinary varieties and errors that push values into the hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars, including doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, lamination errors, and transitional errors that reveal fascinating details about how coins were struck during this turbulent era. And the most famous of these is the 1944 steel penny struck on leftover 1943 planchets, a mistake that happened because the mint didn't clear out the presses completely before resuming copper production. So a handful of steel blanks slipped through, got struck with 1944 dies, and went into circulation, causing these accidental creations to become legendary rarities sought after by every serious collector, with pristine examples bringing multi-million-dollar auction prices due to their combination of extreme scarcity, historical significance, and high demand. And beyond the steel error, there are copper 1944 pennies with subtle but dramatic double die obverse errors where the lettering Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1944 appear doubled under magnification. A striking minting blunder that makes these coins stand out immediately to trained eyes, and depending on condition and clarity of the doubling, these varieties can command tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if the coin is a particularly strong double die example in uncirculated mint state with original luster, the value can skyrocket because collectors are always willing to pay a premium for top-tier condition. And then there are 1944 pennies struck on foreign planchets or transitional metal compositions, because during the war the mint was also producing coins for other countries, and sometimes blanks intended for foreign coins accidentally found their way into U.S. cent presses, creating off-metal strikes like bronze coins with slightly different weights or steel coins intended for other nations struck with U.S. designs, each of which can be worth a fortune due to extreme rarity. And what makes the 1944 penny particularly fascinating is the sheer number of variations caused by this chaotic transitional period in U.S. coin production, because between the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, billions of 1944 cents were produced, but only a tiny fraction contained these exceptional errors. So while a regular worn 1944 copper penny might be worth only a few cents or a few dollars, the rare error varieties can transform into 5, 6, or even 7-figure treasures. And auction records prove it, with some 1944 steel cents selling for over $1 million depending on grade, and one pristine example believed to be the finest known commanding bids up to $5 million, because collectors understand how impossibly rare such a coin is. And it's not just about the steel planchet either, because repunched mint marks, especially on 1944D and 1944S issues, reveal how mint workers manually punched mint marks onto dies, sometimes more than once, leading to visible overlapping D or S impressions. And when these are clear and dramatic, they become key varieties that collectors compete for, pushing values far beyond ordinary coins. and even more subtle varieties like overpolished dies, die chips, and cuts can significantly raise the value of a 1944 penny in the right market, particularly if it's authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC. And collectors also pay close attention to off-center strikes where the design is misaligned and part of the blank remains unstruck, which can create visually striking and desirable error coins. With extreme off-centers in mint state bringing huge premiums, and clipped planchet errors where a portion of the blank was accidentally cut off during the punching process can also make these coins valuable curiosities, especially when the clip is dramatic and obvious. And then, there's the fact that condition plays a massive role in the value of any rare coin, and 1944 wheat pennies are no exception, because an error coin in circulated condition might bring thousands. But the same coin in pristine uncirculated condition can multiply in value many times over, especially when certified as genuine and given a high grade, and that's why collectors and treasure hunters all over the world carefully check their change, search through old rolls of pennies, explore estate sales, and visit coin shows hoping to stumble upon one of these legendary 1944 rarities, because finding one could mean an instant payday worth millions. And what adds another layer of fascination is how these errors were born out of a pivotal historical moment when the United States was at war, materials were scarce, and the mint was under immense pressure to meet demand, leading to mistakes that would have seemed small at the time, but today have created some of the most coveted coins in U.S. history, and the 1944 penny embodies this era perfectly. A simple coin turned into a priceless artifact because of human error, chance, and the passage of time. And when examining these coins, experts look at every minute detail from the composition of the metal to the sharpness of the strike, the presence of die cracks or laminations, and the placement of the mint mark, because each of these elements can reveal whether the coin is one of the rare multimillion-dollar varieties or just a common cent. And for the famous 1944 steel cent, authentication is critical because counterfeits are common, with unscrupulous individuals altering 1943 steel cents or 1944 copper cents to mimic the real rarity. But experts can detect these fakes through precise weight measurements, magnet tests, and advanced metallurgical analysis, ensuring that only genuine errors command the massive prices seen at major auctions. And this constant demand for rare and valuable Lincoln cents has created a thriving market where even small anomalies can make a huge difference. And while only a handful of people will ever hold a genuine 1944 steel cent in their hands, countless others are inspired to check their coins and learn more about numismatics because of stories like this. And beyond steel and doubling errors, there are dramatic die breaks where a crack in the die causes raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin, which collectors call retained cuds or die chips. And these quirky features can also raise value significantly, especially if they're located near key areas like Lincoln's portrait or the date. And when such an error is combined with a high grade, the result is a true numismatic prize. And even ordinary 1944 pennies can be worth far more than face value if they have strong red luster, full strike, and minimal wear, because condition scarcity plays a big role, and coins that have been well preserved in original rolls or mint sets often fetch impressive sums even without dramatic errors. Next, 1951 wheat penny. The ordinary pocket change can turn into life-changing treasure. And today we're going to uncover the incredible story of the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that at first glance looks like any other from that era, but hides secrets and mysteries that could make it worth as much as $10 million because of its fascinating errors, minting mistakes, and the unique possibilities that have made collectors go crazy searching for this tiny piece of copper history. So if you've ever wondered how a simple 1-cent coin could be worth a fortune, buckle up, because this story will take you deep into the world of numismatic wonders, historical mysteries, and minting miracles that define why the 1951 wheat penny is one of the most talked about and sought after coins in American history, a coin that proves once again that what looks ordinary on the surface can hide unimaginable value beneath. Now, to understand why the 1951 wheat penny could command such an astronomical price, we need to look back at its origins, the post-World War II era, when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, primarily made of copper, and although 1951 might seem like a routine year, small inconsistencies in production, experimental planchets, and transitional errors created a handful of coins that defied normality. Some of these pennies were struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943, when the mint had temporarily switched to zinc-coated steel due to wartime copper shortages. And if a 1951 penny was accidentally struck on one of these, the result would be a coin unlike any other, magnetic, silvery in appearance, and a total anomaly for its time. Such an error would be so rare that it could easily fetch millions at auction, given the intense demand for transitional error coins among top collectors. But that's just the beginning of what makes the 1951 wheat penny so extraordinary. Many experts believe that some 1951 pennies were struck using worn or improperly prepared dies, leading to double die errors on the obverse or reverse. Imagine looking at a coin where the word, "Liberty, in God we trust," or the date, 1951, appears slightly doubled. This doubling occurs when the die, which stamps the design onto the blank planchet, shifts slightly between impressions. Collectors treasure these because no two doubled dies are identical, each being a fingerprint of minting imperfection frozen in metal. A strong, well-defined doubled die on a 1951 penny could elevate its value to the millions, especially if combined with other anomalies such as off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or die cracks that make it stand out even further. Then, there's the fascinating case of the 1951 proof and business strike differences. In that year, proof coins were struck in Philadelphia with extra care and multiple strikes to ensure mirror-like surfaces. But imagine if one of those proof-quality dies accidentally found its way into general circulation production, or if a circulation strike was struck on a proof planchet. These hybrid coins blur the line between mint categories, making them immensely valuable for their rarity and the mystery of how they came to exist. Some researchers even speculate about 1951 pennies struck on foreign planchets, as the U.S. Mint was assisting other countries at the time by producing coinage blanks, meaning there's a real possibility that a few 1951 wheat pennies were minted on planchets meant for foreign coins such as the Belgian 2 centime or the Peruvian centavo, resulting in an incorrect weight, composition, or color that sharp-eyed collectors might catch. Add to that the discovery of off-metal strikes, such as pennies struck on dime or nickel planchets, and the range of possibilities that can make a 1951 wheat penny uniquely valuable expands dramatically. Imagine a 1951 penny weighing slightly less or more than the standard 3.11 grams, made of a different alloy, or showing a silvery tone instead of the expected copper-red luster. These clues could point to a major minting blunder worth a small fortune. Then we dive deeper into the mint marks themselves. The 1951 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, marked D, and San Francisco, marked S, and these mint marks have their own peculiarities. For example, repunched mint marks, RPMs, occur when the mint mark is hand-punched onto the die multiple times in slightly different positions, leading to ghostly shadows or doubled impressions under magnification. A 1951 D RPM with a strong, visible secondary D could become a numismatic gem, with collectors willing to pay thousands or even millions if the coin also displays pristine condition and a brilliant red luster preserved over 7 decades. Mint errors such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die caps, clipped planchets, and struck-through errors also contribute to the intrigue. An off-center strike, where the design is misaligned, reveals a portion of the blank surface. A 10%, 20%, or even 50% off-center strike can make a coin visually stunning and highly desirable. Die caps, created when a coin sticks to the die and continues to strike subsequent blanks, create fascinating, almost 3D distortions that are like miniature sculptures of minting chaos. If one of these extraordinary errors occurred on a 1951 penny, especially one with a visible date and wheat ears intact, its uniqueness would be undeniable. Now, consider the condition of the coin. Grading is everything in the numismatic world. A 1951 penny found in mint state, MS65, MS67, or higher, with full red color can already bring hundreds or thousands. But when you add a major error or double die, the price skyrockets. Coins that have been preserved in airtight holders or found in old rolls untouched for decades can retain the original fiery copper glow that collectors dream of. A specimen combining top-grade condition with a dramatic mint error becomes the ultimate rarity. Auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have documented similar sales where rare error pennies fetched unbelievable sums, and experts speculate that if a 1951 penny with multiple layered errors, a strong strike, and brilliant luster were to surface today, bidding wars could easily push it to the $10 million mark, making it one of the most valuable coins ever minted. What's also captivating is the historical aura surrounding the 1951 penny. Minted during a time when America was transitioning into the modern era, post-war prosperity was booming, and the U.S. Mint's technology was advancing rapidly, yet human error and machine limitations still created tiny imperfections that today become priceless. The wheat reverse design, featuring 2 stalks of wheat framing the denomination, 1 cent, was nearing the end of its run, soon to be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. That gives the 1951 penny an added nostalgic charm, a symbol of America's last decade of the beloved wheat cent design. Some collectors even believe that special strikes or experimental alloys were tested around this time as the mint explored improvements in coin durability, potentially explaining why some 1951 pennies have unusual surface textures or toning. Natural toning, rainbow hues caused by oxidation over decades, can itself enhance a coin's appeal, especially if the toning is vibrant and symmetrical, making the piece both a scientific curiosity and a work of art. Now imagine a perfect storm. A 1951 penny struck on a leftover steel planchet with a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, partial collar strike, and preserved in flawless condition with beautiful rainbow toning. Such a combination would be nearly mythical, and collectors with deep pockets would stop at nothing to own it. Even without so many errors, just a strong double die or off-metal strike from 1951 could change hands for hundreds of thousands to millions depending on rarity, eye appeal, and provenance. Provenance adds yet another layer. If the coin was part of a famous collection or discovered in a legendary hoard, its story amplifies the value further. Coins are not just metal. They are time capsules carrying the touch of history, and each tiny imperfection tells a tale of chance and human craftsmanship. And in the case of the 1951 penny, those imperfections turn into miracles. Next, 1958 wheat penny. We dive deep into the hidden treasures of American coinage, revealing the astonishing secrets behind the smallest pieces of metal that can hold the biggest fortunes. And today we are going to talk about one of the most fascinating coins in numismatic history, the 1958 wheat penny. A coin that seems so ordinary in your change jar, but has a story so extraordinary that one of its rarest error versions has reached a jaw-dropping value of $1 million, making it one of the most talked about Lincoln cents ever struck. The 1958 penny, minted in Denver, is one of the last of the iconic wheat reverse design, which was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, marking the end of an era for collectors. But what makes this particular penny so incredibly valuable is not just its age or design. It's the rare and bizarre mint errors, the die anomalies, and the unexpected imperfections that have turned this simple copper coin into a millionaire's collectible. Now imagine for a moment Millions of 1958 pennies rolling off the presses, each one struck with precision, but somewhere among them, a few rare pieces escaped the minting process with shocking mistakes that went unnoticed at the time. Some 1958 pennies are struck on planchets that weren't even intended for cents, such as leftover steel or silver-like blanks from earlier wartime compositions, creating off-metal errors that instantly make a coin one of a kind. Others show dramatic doubling, especially on the date and lettering where the numbers 1958 or the letter D appear to be shadowed, almost like a ghostly echo caused by a misalignment between the die and the coin surface. This doubling effect is what collectors crave, and when it's crisp and noticeable to the naked eye, it sends the coin's value soaring to astronomical levels. In fact, genuine double die obverse examples from the 1950s can bring thousands on their own, but when found on a rare year like 1958 with a Denver Mint mark, they can reach into six-figure territory, and the right combination of condition and rarity can easily push it to the $1 million mark at auction. But that's not all. Some 1958 pennies were discovered with incredible die cracks, lamination errors, and even missing elements, where part of Lincoln's bust or the motto, "In God We Trust," appears faint or missing entirely, creating varieties that no two collectors have ever seen exactly alike. When these flaws are paired with a coin in nearly perfect condition, say, graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, the market goes wild, as these are the kinds of coins that simply don't appear in circulation anymore. The difference between a regular 1958 penny worth a few cents and an error coin worth $1 million lies in these tiny imperfections, born during the high-pressure minting process, where machinery, temperature, and timing all play a part. Even the smallest shift in the die or a worn hub could produce a variety that numismatists spend years trying to classify and authenticate. Now, let's talk about the minting background. 1958 saw over 800 million pennies struck in Denver, which means that any mint error surviving in this massive production run is incredibly rare. Quality control at the mint was tight during this period, but not perfect, and human oversight combined with die fatigue often led to unnoticed doubling, misstrikes, or metal impurities. Some pennies were even struck slightly off-center, revealing a crescent of unstruck metal along the edge, a defect that collectors today find visually striking and extremely desirable. A 1958 off-center strike with full details on Lincoln's face and legible date can command thousands of dollars, but when such an error also includes doubling or a unique die crack pattern, the coin crosses into museum-worthy territory. Then, there are transitional and composition errors, coins that may have been accidentally struck using leftover materials or incorrect blanks. Although officially all 1958 cents should have been made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, it's believed that some examples were struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign coins, resulting in weight and color discrepancies that experts can confirm only through metallurgical testing. When one such piece is authenticated, its uniqueness alone makes it priceless to advanced collectors and auction houses. The demand for such rare coins has skyrocketed as more people become fascinated with error coins through online platforms, and the 1958 penny has become a shining example of how small mistakes can turn into big money. The thrill lies in the hunt. Millions of collectors sift through rolls of old wheat pennies, hoping to find one that shows the telltale signs of a valuable error. Some lucky individuals have pulled these treasures straight out of inherited coin jars or pocket change, unaware at first that they held a piece of numismatic history. The auction world has seen record-breaking moments where seemingly ordinary Lincoln cents, once considered pocket change, sold for life-changing sums. The mystique of the 1958 penny lies in its connection to that final year of the wheat design, symbolizing both an end and a beginning in U.S. coinage. And when a coin like that carries dramatic mint errors, it represents not only history but also rarity in its purest form. Experts often use microscopes and high-resolution photography to study such coins, documenting die markers and identifying unique characteristics that separate genuine doubled dies from machine doubling or post-mint damage. The authentication process is crucial because true errors are incredibly scarce, and the market has no shortage of altered or fake examples. A genuine 1958D double die obverse penny authenticated by PCGS or NGC can instantly jump from a few $100s to tens of thousands, and if the doubling is dramatic and distinct, collectors will pay nearly anything to secure it. Some reports have even described coins with the Liberty and "In God We Trust" appearing doubled, giving them a distinctive three-dimensional look that photographs beautifully and excites collectors who chase visual appeal. The penny's reddish luster, if preserved with original mint brilliance and no signs of cleaning or corrosion, can add thousands more to its value. Combine that with a strong mint mark and a known error, and suddenly a coin once worth 1 cent becomes a piece of American history worth a fortune. The excitement continues as treasure hunters and collectors search for these elusive varieties, sometimes finding coins with die caps, clipped planchets, or broad strikes, all types of minting mistakes that can multiply a coin's value several times over. The beauty of the 1958D penny story is that it reminds everyone that not all treasures are gold or silver. Sometimes they are copper, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice. If you're ever lucky enough to come across a 1958D penny that looks different, whether because of doubling, color variation, or off-center strike, it's worth having it examined by a professional grader, as you could be holding one of the rarest and most valuable wheat pennies ever made. Stories circulate among collectors about hidden hoards of error pennies still waiting to be discovered, possibly tucked away in forgotten coin jars or old bank rolls, which fuels the imagination and drives the hobby forward. Each year, new discoveries add to the legend of the 1958D series, keeping it alive as one of the most fascinating and profitable coins of its time. So as you dig through your collection or check your change, remember that one small copper coin from 1958 could be worth $1 million, all because of a tiny mistake at the Denver Mint that turned an ordinary cent into a piece of priceless American history, proving once again that in the world of coins, the smallest details can hold the biggest rewards. Next, 1954 wheat penny. Today we're exploring one of the most astonishing and intriguing coins in American history, the 1954 wheat penny, a humble 1-cent coin from San Francisco that has become a multi-million-dollar treasure, shocking collectors and historians alike by fetching values as high as $6 million due to its unique errors, minting mistakes, and mysterious origins that make it one of the rarest pieces in existence. Imagine reaching into your change jar, pulling out a penny that looks ordinary, only to discover it's worth enough to buy a mansion, a fleet of cars, or even retire early. That's the magic of coin collecting, and the 1954 wheat penny embodies that dream perfectly. Minted in the post-World War II era, when America was booming and the San Francisco Mint was producing coins at a rapid pace, this particular penny was part of the last few years of the beloved wheat design before it transitioned to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959, making the 1954 a sought-after issue already. But what truly catapults it to legendary status are its mind-bending minting errors, and the extreme rarity of those mistakes. There are reports and authenticated examples of 1954 wheat pennies showing dramatic double dies on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1954, appear doubled so visibly that you could almost see two overlapping faces, as if the die struck the coin twice at slightly different angles, a classic sign of a major mint error that immediately boosts collector value. But that's not all. Some specimens show a repunched mint mark, where the small s below the date was stamped more than once, slightly off position, revealing faint shadows of the earlier strikes. This happens when mint workers manually punch the mint marks onto the dies, and slight misalignment could cause fascinating variations. The 1954S is notorious among error specialists for having numerous varieties of repunched mint marks, with certain types being far rarer and commanding premium prices at auctions. Then, there are the off-center strikes, coins where Lincoln's face or the wheat ears on the reverse appear shifted toward the rim, sometimes cutting off part of the design entirely. These kinds of off-center errors are always exciting to collectors, but when combined with a San Francisco mint mark and a 1954 date, their value skyrockets exponentially. Some of the most prized examples also feature die cracks, raised lines across the surface caused by worn-out dies beginning to fracture during minting, often appearing like veins or lightning streaks across the coin's surface. In extreme cases, these cracks create fascinating visual patterns, such as through Lincoln's head or across the wheat stalks, making each one completely unique. Another jaw-dropping variant is the 1954S wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being minted on the standard copper alloy penny blank, a few were accidentally struck on planchets intended for dime or foreign coins. These transitional or off-metal errors are incredibly rare because they result from a blank from another denomination slipping into the penny press, something that should never happen, but occasionally did due to human oversight. For instance, a 1954S struck on a silver dime planchet would appear lighter in color and weight, with the edges often showing incomplete designs because the dime blank was smaller. These kinds of coins are the holy grail for error collectors, as they showcase a tangible mistake made within one of the most controlled industrial processes in the world. The rarity, the uniqueness, and the historical intrigue all combine to make these coins immensely valuable. Now, why would such a coin reach a staggering $6 million price tag? The answer lies not only in the errors, but also in the condition, provenance, and collector demand. A coin like this in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded as MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, would already be worth thousands due to its luster, strike quality, and preservation. Add in a dramatic mint error, such as a double die or off-metal strike, and its value can increase exponentially. If that coin also has a documented history, say, part of a famous collection, or featured in numismatic publications, it gains historical prestige, turning it from a simple error coin into a one-of-a-kind relic. The 1954S wheat penny's $6 million valuation comes from one such example that combines several of these factors: a strong double die obverse, flawless red luster, and provenance tracing back to a well-known private collector who originally purchased it directly from a San Francisco mint employee decades ago. Stories like that captivate the imagination because they blend mystery with verifiable rarity, and in the world of coin collecting, provenance adds enormous value. Collectors love knowing the journey of a coin, where it's been, who owned it, and how it survived in such immaculate shape. And when a coin story intersects with minting errors that shouldn't even exist, it becomes a true numismatic legend. Another fascinating aspect that adds to the mystique of the 1954S wheat penny is its place in American history. The early 1950s were a transitional time for U.S. coinage, with new metal compositions being tested, die-making technology evolving, and quality control standards shifting as mints adjusted to post-war production demands. This period saw an uptick in minor errors, but large-scale blunders like the ones on the 1954S were exceedingly rare, making each discovery a small miracle. Some experts even speculate that a few of these extraordinary pieces might have been intentionally struck by mint workers aware of the growing collector market, smuggling them out discreetly. While that theory remains controversial, it adds an element of intrigue to their story. Beyond the double dies and off-metal strikes, The 1954S series also produced a few examples with dramatic clipped planchets, where a small crescent-shaped piece is missing from the coin's edge due to an error in the blank cutting process before striking. These, clipped, pennies are visually striking and instantly identifiable as errors. Others show broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the protective collar that normally shapes the rim, causing the metal to spread outwards like a pancake. Each of these rare error types amplifies collector enthusiasm, and when combined with the reputation of the San Francisco Mint, known for its precision and relatively low mintages, they make the 1954S one of the most desirable wheat pennies ever minted. In the numismatic market, rarity always drives value, but rarity paired with an eye-catching error creates explosive results. The 1954S has appeared in major auctions multiple times over the decades, often surpassing pre-auction estimates by huge margins, as bidders compete for a chance to own a piece of minting history. Coin experts describe the $6 million example as a once-in-a-lifetime specimen, a coin that bridges the gap between mechanical accident and artistic wonder. Its surface gleams with original red coloration, indicating minimal oxidation, and its details remain razor-sharp, suggesting it was never circulated. Under magnification, the doubled lettering of "In God We Trust" and the shadowing of "Liberty" leap out vividly, proof of the die's misalignment during striking. On the reverse, the wheat stalks and the words 1 cent maintain perfect definition, showcasing how a manufacturing imperfection can paradoxically result in a masterpiece. When collectors and investors look at a coin like this, they don't just see copper. They see history, craftsmanship, rarity, and mystery encapsulated in a tiny piece of metal. And that's what gives it value far beyond its 1-cent face. Moreover, the 1954S penny's fame continues to grow through online discussions, numismatic forums, and YouTube channels where enthusiasts share discoveries of error coins they find in pocket change or inherited collections. The dream of finding a rare penny worth millions is what keeps collectors searching, checking every date, every mint mark, and every anomaly under magnifying glasses. The 1954S wheat penny reminds everyone that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, that a small piece of copper might just change your life. As long as coins circulate, stories like these will continue to inspire new generations of collectors. Last 1951 wheat penny. In the world of rare U.S. coins, a story that combines history, mystery, and fortune all packed into a small copper coin that could change your life if you happen to find one sitting unnoticed in your old collection, pocket change, or even in a forgotten jar of coins from your grandparents, because today we're talking about the incredible 1951 wheat penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but in some extraordinary cases has sold for as much as $2 million because of the fascinating and rare mint errors that make it one of the most sought-after treasures among collectors, investors, and numismatic experts around the world. The 1951 wheat penny was part of the Lincoln cent series that had already become iconic by the mid-20th century, featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the familiar wheat ears design on the reverse. But what makes this particular year and certain specimens so special is not just its age, but the combination of minting errors, striking anomalies, and mysterious variations that have elevated its value far beyond its 1-cent face value. Produced at 3 different U.S. mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the 1951 pennies came in massive numbers, with billions made, but among them exist coins with double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and even coins mistakenly struck on foreign or leftover metal planchets that were never supposed to be used. And it's these unique accidents that can transform an otherwise common coin into a multi-million-dollar collectible. Imagine finding a 1951 penny with a dramatic double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile or the inscription such as "In God We Trust" or Liberty, appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. This kind of clear and strong doubling can send collectors into a bidding frenzy because such errors are not just rare but also visually striking, easily visible to the naked eye, and confirm that this was a true minting mistake from the era when die preparation was still a largely manual and imperfect process. Then, there are those rare instances of off-metal errors, where a 1951 penny was struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin blank that happened to be mixed into the machinery at the time, creating a coin that is both a historical mystery and a physical anomaly, lighter in weight, different in color, or with slightly different diameter. These oddities are some of the most prized finds in coin collecting. Additionally, repunched mint marks, particularly from the San Francisco and Denver mints where the small S or D was manually punched into the die, are among the most collectible errors, and a 1951 D or 1951 S penny with a clear doubled or even tripled mint mark can command staggering prices, especially if it's well preserved and authenticated by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC. Some 1951 pennies are also known to show signs of die cracks, cuts, or retained breaks, evidence that the dies used to strike them had worn or fractured under the immense pressure of the minting process, creating raised lines or blobs of extra metal that look like tiny scars or ridges across the coin's surface. These not only tell a story about the mechanical stresses of mid-century minting but also add a one-of-a-kind appeal that collectors love because no two such coins are ever exactly alike. But what truly sends the value of a 1951 penny soaring into the $1 million range are those ultra-rare specimens combining multiple errors. Imagine a coin struck off-center on a dime planchet with a double die obverse and a repunched mint mark. These combinations are practically once-in-a-lifetime finds, and the few known examples have shocked auction houses by fetching incredible sums, often exceeding all expectations. The fascination with the 1951 wheat penny also lies in its condition. Even a minor error can become extremely valuable if the coin remains in mint state or proof-like condition with its original luster intact, because condition amplifies rarity. An error coin that's also beautifully preserved represents the perfect storm of desirability, and professional grading can mean the difference between a few $100s and millions. Some experts speculate that a handful of these ultra-rare error coins survived due to mint workers setting aside odd-looking specimens, or through unintentional release during production, when quality control standards were still evolving, while others may have circulated briefly before being pulled from use by sharp-eyed collectors or simply stored away unnoticed for decades. The lore surrounding these coins is part of what makes them so fascinating. Each discovery reignites hope among treasure hunters that another hidden gem is out there, waiting to be found in an old roll of wheat pennies or a forgotten coin album. There's also the intriguing possibility that a few 1951 pennies were struck on leftover planchets from the wartime steel cents of 1943 or experimental alloy blanks that somehow remained in the mint supply. These anomalies, if verified, would be incredibly valuable because they represent an almost impossible minting event that bridges two distinct eras of U.S. coinage. Collectors often point to the story of similar rare Lincoln cents like the 1943 copper and 1944 steel pennies that reached million-dollar auction prices as evidence that lightning can strike again, and the 1951 penny, with its own catalog of unique errors, fits right into that category of numismatic miracles. For example, coins struck with major off-center errors where part of Lincoln's head or date is missing but the rest of the design is sharply detailed can fetch thousands. But when such coins also display additional doubling or unusual coloration from improper alloy mixing, their values can skyrocket. Speaking of alloy, variations in the copper composition of some 1951 pennies have been detected through metallurgical testing, revealing subtle differences that may result from leftover bronze or brass planchets being mixed in, making those pieces distinct and adding another layer of intrigue. Even minor die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of the opposite design, can enhance collectability, especially when clearly visible on Lincoln's face or the wheat stalks. Beyond the mechanical errors, the historical context of the 1951 penny adds emotional and cultural value, being minted in the post-war era when America was experiencing industrial growth and change, making these coins small time capsules of craftsmanship and history. Over the years, stories have surfaced of individuals unknowingly spending or trading away what would later turn out to be priceless 1951-era pennies, fueling both regret and renewed excitement among those who still check every penny in their change jars. The market for rare pennies has exploded in recent decades as collectors from around the world, including wealthy investors and museum curators, compete for ownership of the finest and rarest specimens, and the 1951-era pennies stand among the most desirable because they embody everything thrilling about coin collecting: rarity, mystery, and the chance of finding immense value in the most unexpected places. Auction records show that verified examples in top condition can command anywhere from tens of thousands to millions depending on the nature of the error, provenance, and overall appeal. As more people become aware of these rarities through media coverage and viral stories, the demand continues to rise, pushing values even higher. So if you happen to own a 1951 penny, it's worth taking a closer look, examine it under magnification, check the mint mark, look for signs of doubling, off-center striking, unusual thickness, strange coloration, or any irregularities that could indicate it's not an ordinary strike, because the next $2 million coin could be sitting right in your collection, waiting to be discovered. Every scratch, line, and shimmer tells a story, and sometimes that story ends in a life-changing discovery. This is what makes the world of coin collecting endlessly fascinating: the idea that hidden treasures still circulate among us, remnants of history that defy expectation and reward curiosity. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone who just loves the thrill of the hunt, the 1951 wheat penny stands as a shining example of how a tiny piece of copper can become a bridge between ordinary moments and extraordinary fortune, turning something as simple as a penny into a priceless artifact of American minting history.